guys who know me know that if I would actually try to turn down or run away from shots. I was notorious for that. I wouldn't fake a shot. I would try to get out of it or give it to other people. But if I was going to do it, I was going to do it. I like Fireball, by the way.
Why do you have to have a drink? Why in that role? Explain to the audience why
You
you're.
don't have to have a drink. There's some successful bar managers that don't.
Mm,
But in terms of hospitality and in terms of the audience and the customer base that you're dealing with, especially in the type of bar that I worked in, which are heavy drinking bars. Now, I never worked in a go-go, a strip club. I never worked in a nightclub. That's a different type of management, and most of those guys, they don't need to drink because they're more in the background. Um, a lot of the beer bars, which was when I was in, especially in that day,
Soy Six.
yeah, Soy
And do
Six,
you want to give the place a shout out?
Sexy in the City.
Yeah.
It was when it was a double unit. It was also a guest house, which helped too. It's not anymore, but I managed a guest house here for 4 years. Only 8 rooms, but I learned a lot by managing a guest house too, a little mini hotel,
Mm.
and I learned a lot with dealing with problems. I learned more here, more running a bar, about HR than 15 years with Best Buy in HR. Just because in America, I dealt with mainly Americans. Yes, I was in DC. Yes, we got a lot of Indian visitors. So I learned very early on how to deal with Indian tourists, but not many from other countries. I've met very few people from the UK and
Yeah.
the US, nobody from Australia, nobody from Scandinavia, Germany, absolutely nobody from Russia.
You just
Uh,
said how to deal with Indian tourists. What did you learn from that?
uh, we'll come back to that. Um, so anyways, I just didn't meet a lot of people from different countries because you just don't in your home country, at least in America. Now, America is so diverse with people from different backgrounds and cultures, but people that are from other countries and other cultures entirely that haven't grown up in America, with the exception of some areas you don't meet them. Here in Pattaya, it's such a melting pot from people around the world. And I
Mm.
gained so many skills in understanding different personalities. And going back to Indians, the Indian tourists that we would get in America are very worldly, very different than Indian tourists here. I have some of my closest friends are Indians. We have, with the news, we have close relationships with the local Thai Indian organizations.
Mm.
And I feel that a lot of people misinterpret the Indian. There's a complete difference between Indians at a nightclub on Walking Street. And if you've never gone, I see the comments all the time. Oh, 6 guys, one straw. Oh, they're walking down Beach Road in a big group together. Um, Go to an Indian nightclub and watch them throwing out hundreds of thousands of baht in a night. They spend more money than like anybody, but that's a different group than the guys who are on a very limited budget walking down Beach Road at night. So, to answer your question, it really depends. One thing I found with Indians in general is that they really like, and especially in sales, and I think you found this with your experience in sales and dealing with Indian clients, is once you land an Indian client, they are your most loyal client. They are great to work with. But to land that client, you really need. They will go through that contract. The negotiations can be very intense, but it's not like some other countries where they'll want discounts after the fact. They'll agree to everything beforehand, and once you've shaken hands, you've agreed that's pretty much set in stone.
Mm.
Other countries, including myself with Americans, if we're not happy after the contract, we're going to demand discounts and refunds and get angry and cause defamation problems. Going back to that, but Indians don't.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
so, but anyways, going back to the bar, I learned a lot about HR, and I learned a lot about myself, and it's fun. A lot of people talk about moving here and being a bar manager. It is fun, but it's an extremely demanding job. And what I mean by that, some people will laugh. Oh, you just sit there and drink and talk to people. Try it. Try it 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, sitting in the same bar without leaving, in the same bar with every single day.
How many
Uh,
women?
that can depend on a bar you're working in.
Mm.
In many bars, they don't handle. When I was a bar manager, we did have to handle staff. I don't want to talk about that
Okay.
aspect too much, but I do want to talk about just about the core job. And it's important to remember that your main job is being a host, being an entertainer.
Yes.
I'm right now, I'm having a great time. I'm enjoying this podcast.
Thank you.
But imagine doing this podcast and being entertaining like right now, 6 days a week, 12 hours a day,
Mm.
having 30 drinks every day,
How did you manage 5 years?
just being drunk for
And
5 years. No,
then how? Sorry, I'm asking you question after
lots of
question.
friends. Really
Mm,
enjoying the friend aspect of it. Made a lot of regular customers. Dodging shots, like I was joking.
mm,
Um, Couple of things from that. So, when I say that 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, drinking every single day, one of the most difficult parts of the job is going out and having a few drinks for fun is great, but doing it as work and then the next day coming in at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, hungover, chugging water, feeling sweet baby Jesus.
I've got another 12
But
hours.
here's the worst news. At 2 o'clock, here comes Bob from the UK, who just arrived on his 2 weeks holiday, and Bob is ready to ring that motherfucking bell.
What happens when you
And,
ring the
and,
bell?
it buys drinks for everybody in the bar. And Bob is ready to spend 10,000 baht. And guess what? This goes back to your original question. Why do you have to drink? If I tell Bob, who's in party mode, who's ready to spend money at your bar,
I ain't saw you for a year.
if I tell Bob, nah, Bob, man, I'm sorry, I'm just drinking water today, bro. Just I'm not doing a shot with you. Well, what the fuck? Fuck you! I'm gonna go drink with Dale down the road or
Yeah.
whatever. So I don't want to say you have to drink, but
Mm,
that's hospitality, man. It just is.
mm,
That's why so many managers do drink with customers. Yes, some are alcoholics, and I'm lucky that I've never been like an actually dependent alcoholic. I think a lot of it because I drank. I probably came close, but no.
yeah.
Like now I can go, and I do it all the time. I go 3, 4, 5 days with no alcohol, no problem.
It reminds me, it's a little bit like going to your friend's party that is an absolute party animal saying,
Yeah, I'm
I'm
just
not
gonna sit
drinking.
over here and have a
Yeah.
tea.
Yeah.
Nah, man, I'm not drinking, bro. It's they might invite you because they might be friendly, but they're not going to talk with you. And once it becomes to a point where it's about making money and spending money, um, obviously, if somebody's buying you shots and drinks and stuff, and you're turning it down, that seems rude, especially to
Mm,
people, quite frankly, from the UK. Many people from the UK I met, especially some of the older UK guys, if they offer you a drink or a beer and you say, Scottish especially, and you say, no, I'm not drinking. That's rude.
yeah.
And it's also rude, by the way, in many Asian countries, Chinese especially. We didn't get many Chinese customers, but even in business in China and Japan, it's very common to Japan's a big one too, to drink.
Mm,
And if you're like you're signing a contract or a deal with Japanese, we've learned this with the news and sales. Many Japanese-owned companies and top-end Japanese CEOs to celebrate the contract will absolutely pour a shot of whiskey, and you'll do it with them. You say, "No, I'm not doing that shot." You could void that entire contract.
mm. What are some of the life lessons that you learned from being a bar manager? Like,
Never judge a book by its cover. I kind of knew that before, but really did it as a bar manager. Is a lot of times people get this. We had it at Best Buy too. Somebody would walk in, you know, in dirty shorts, a dirty singlet, you know, and the girls and somebody, your staff, your sales staff at Best Buy would say, "Oh, this guy's not going to spend any money." You might be surprised.
mm,
In fact, the guys at Best Buy, anyways, that usually came in well dressed, wearing suits and shit, they were ripping you off. They were stealing.
okay.
Yeah, that's a whole different topic, but
Yeah.
that's because people don't think those folks are ever going to steal. So professional thieves often go out of their way to make themselves. That's an old Best Buy asset prevention thing.
Mm.
Um, they'll send in somebody that like looks like this to walk around the store so that everybody in the building is looking at them, and the person's acting
Ah.
kind of shady, like doing this shit. So everybody's looking at them, and meanwhile, you in a suit are walking through there just cutting laptop wires and loading them up in a bag
Mm,
because nobody
mm,
thinks it'll be like a 50-year-old guy. Nobody will think he's doing it. So
mm.
yeah, you don't know who's going to be a great customer. Number two, and this is advice I have for bar managers in Pattaya now. If you see this clip, um, your customer that buys one water is just as important as your customers ringing the bell 40 times. Here's why. You don't know if that guy tomorrow is going to be your bell ringer. Number two, you don't know who he's going to talk to. I had so many guys that people would call a cheap Charlie, a term here for somebody who's on a tight budget or might come in and buy one drink and might not be a big spender. A lot of the Thai staff don't understand this either. Is I would have to tell them so many times. It's like, look, this, you don't know. They could tell their friend who is a big spender, hey, go meet Adam, go meet AJ. I had that so many times. Uh, yeah, where somebody, he's cheap, his friends aren't, and it all rolls up and it's all good vibes at the end of the day.
And there's no need to act or put on a face, or you
No,
just great customer service regardless.
yeah, but I think that's part of the reason I did it so long is I'm awkward, I'm goofy, I talk a lot, I'm a bit weird, I'm a lot weird, but most people that meet me, it worked out at the end of the day, and they liked coming and talk to me. The managers that try to act cool on purpose, I find generally fail. The guys that try to act too formal, like they're in a customer, good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the Big Titty Go Go. I'm like, that's not why it's like, that's kind of weird. I mean, you might not want to shake my hand right now. No, you just got to be, hey man, what's up? Where are you from, bro? Oh yeah, you're from. Of course, U.S. was easy, but I eventually became pretty good with people with the UK, having different topics and stuff. Anyways, the last thing I learned from the bars was, and it kind of ties into those two, is and this is something I think many business owners in Pattaya, both Thai and foreigner, need to remember, is the long term. I think I learned this from Best Buy too. Is the long term value of a client or customer. Um, Too many times people will look at somebody that's ringing the bell and spending a lot of money today, and they'll come in one day and buy only a water. Um, and they're not, and all of a sudden the staff will get upset. Or this person who's been a great customer for years will come in and have a problem. And especially some staff that's not trained on how to deal with shades of gray will just lose their fucking minds and start screaming and yelling at a guy that spent hundreds of thousands of bought in your business over the years. So there's that value. So yeah, I learned a lot about, like I said, about like cultures, dealing with different people, how different people respond. Like growing up in America and being in American retail, you've never been to America, but American customer service is very, very intense, especially at restaurants. I know a lot of that's due to the tipping, controversial tipping culture, but it's just very, very, lots of talking, lots of friendliness, lots of, hey, how you doing today? What's your name? Where are you from? And I do have that aspect.
Okay.
But then there's people from countries like Russia and Germany, especially Eastern Germany. They don't appreciate that. They would rather just uh, they don't want to talk to you, and that's fine. I learned a lot of skills on how to recognize who wants to chit chat with me, who doesn't.
Sensing the vibes.
Yeah. In bars, a lot of guys come here and they're terrified. They're terrified of the woman. Or the boys, depending on where you're going. They're terrified to speak to them. Many guys come here, quite frankly, because they have personality problems at home, woman problems at home. Some guys come here broken, and I mean that by like they're divorced, widowed. They hear about Pattaya for another opportunity, and they just don't know how to deal with it. So I became really good at recognizing guys that are sitting there afraid. Like, hey man, what's up? Hey, you okay? Sometimes many guys just want somebody to talk to, and there's very few Thai staff members at most of the bars here who speak fluent enough English to be able to just shoot the shit.
I hear you. What would you say to your younger version, or someone that's watching this right now that's considering either visiting Thailand or moving to Thailand, that's a little bit bored of their home country and wants an adventure?
So, like I said, I never intended to move here, but I also moved here with a year of severance and about the same amount saved. So I moved here, being transparent, with just under 200,000 US dollars.
Thank you for